You're on mute. You're on mute. Do you need me to go over there? Does everyone come up? Four people on your screen? Monday? Are we on the wrong webinar?
I don't know. I didn't say nothing.
Oh. Vanessa was echoing. And reminder to start. Okay. 30. There's 12 participants. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Inhale, exhale.
Good. Let's go. Got my jacket.
I gotta hype them up, guys. Okay,
Let's get it.
we're set. Let's go.
Cool. All right, we're live. All right. I was expecting everyone to start showing their faces, but I forgot this is webinar style. What's up, everyone? Um, welcome. 6:30. There's no micro camera for me. Correct. Yes, Vic. No micro camera for you guys. You guys could chill. Sorry, usually I know everyone loves looking at themselves. Not tonight. No camera. But I'm very excited for you guys to hop on, because we're going to be talking about something that really helped me in my life um, create a lot of wealth. Okay. And a lot of people just, it's so underrated. Yeah, it's one of the best things you could do to create wealth. So tonight we have our workshop. Welcome, everyone. And let's get right into it. How to eliminate debt and build your credit. Um, Later on, we're going to give you a scan code so you can jump into our entire wealth building workshops. Okay. And today's workshop is brought to you by all the realtors here at our office. So you want to reach out to them and just thank them for inviting you, because they're truly just helping you build your wealth over time. Later on, we're going to ask you for a review. A little bit about myself. Uh, the main thing is I've been in real estate 24 years. And as a 24-year real estate professional, I've learned about money. And right now, I have 84 tenants that pay me rent every single month in San Diego. So that's 84 rentals in San Diego. So my rentals aren't in Texas or Tennessee or another state where they're super low value. My rentals are all in San Diego County. Most of them are in the city of San Diego here locally. And that's like the big thing that I've built up over time. At the age of 32, I became a millionaire, and I'm a full-time commercial and residential real estate broker, a property manager, and we've taught financial literacy to over 1,000 kids here in San Diego County, and we teach them about money and just how to build their wealth over time. So that's called the Millionaires Kids Club. If you have some kids, make sure that they attend. We have several of them a year, sometimes at different high schools, middle schools, and sometimes online as well. So that's a little bit about myself and how, or the reason why I'm qualified to give this class and this workshop is because I've done it for myself and I've helped other people do it throughout their career. And then our co-host is Claudia Lomeli, and she's there waving her hand. And if you guys have any questions, you could always throw it into the chat and then she could answer. And if it's like a long-winded question, maybe she could unmute you and then you could ask the question. So that's who we are, and we're ready to get started. So the debt is the number one wealth killer in all of America. Yes, it's the number one wealth killer. Let's talk about that. We're going to talk about some concepts today. So the whole point of today is I'm going to teach you guys some concepts. We're going to give you a form that you could use in order to eliminate debt over time. But today is going to be about concepts so you get high level how it all works. So the first thing to note is when you pay with cash, it's always cost less. You actually save or make money. So we're going to talk about that in a bit. And then when you finance something, it always costs more. And then we're going to talk about cash on hand and carrying debt and how that works. So just a few concepts. So just to get started, let's talk about a couple concepts. Actually, before we go into here, I want to share this other screen that I got that's really interesting. So let me exit out of here, and that way I could share with you guys something really cool. So just to kick it off, I'm going to show you very quickly how, if you know, some of you guys know me, my wife and I are expecting our first baby here soon, right? And I'm going to show you how this baby is going to end up with a lot of money, a lot of money by the time he's ready to retire. He's going to end up with over $3 million. And I'm going to share with you really quickly a concept on how it works. So I Googled this right now when we started, and I said, hey, how much money is Trump giving away to newborns? Because he created some law that went into effect last year. And every newborn, Trump is giving $1,000 to. And this is called the Trump account. And basically this money is, he created this program because he wants kids to be in a better position when they're adults, right? So $1,000 and it's going to be put into U.S. stocks and treasuries, and the kid cannot take out that money until he's 18. With that being said, I'm going to show you guys in real time how much money that's going to turn into, okay? So if you guys don't already play around with this, this is called a government compound interest calculator. So what I did was I put $1,000 right here, and I want to see what this kid's going to have after many years, right? So we start with 1,000, and as a parent, you got to decide, well, how much money can I put into this account? Whatever you could afford. Now, I think that most parents could probably afford $100 a month. If you could afford $100 a month to save for your child's future, perfect. Here's 100. So if I contribute $100 a month for the first 50 years of this kid's life, so I'll probably do the first, 15 years. And after that, the kid's going to have a job. And for the rest of his life, through the age of 50, he's going to contribute $100 to this Trump account. And the estimated return on investment, 11.95%. That's historical data over the last 50 years. And then it's compounded annually. So check this out. At the end of 50 years, when this kid is 50 years old, he's going to have $3.1 million in the bank. 3.1, all from just $100 a month. That's how compound interest works. And if this kid's smart, let's say he retires at 65 years old instead of 50, then he'll have $16 million at the age of 65 years old. That's compounding at its finest. And you can see here, this is a compound thing, and it just shows that over the first several years, it's like nothing, and then all of a sudden it just shoots up. And that's what we're going to, one of these concepts we're going to talk about today is how can you do that for yourselves? I just showed you how my kid's going to end up with $16 million, by just contributing $100 a month. Now let's go back to our scheduled program. So the first thing we want to talk about is how can you save money? And these are all concepts that I've used, by the way. Okay. I've saved the money over time. So every dollar saved is a dollar earned. Okay. So we're going to go into that. So let's talk about cars. When you buy a car, and these are all old numbers. This is an old class that we created some years back. But when you buy a car and you buy it for $40,000, a brand new car, you finance it. You put a $2,000 down payment, 60 months, financing, 5% interest, which is probably more today. Um, you end up paying 3,400 bucks to finance a car. So 40,000 plus what you pay in interest over 5 years to the dealer, you actually end up paying $43,000 for that car, 43,453. What I'm showing you here is the difference if you buy it cash. If you buy it cash, you buy it for 40,000. 40,000 is the down payment. You have 0 months of interest or payments or anything like that. So in essence, you saved $3,453. So what did I do? Well, I took this money, 3453, and I divided it by 60 months. That's 5 years. That's $57.55 a month is how much I'm saving by paying cash for this car. And again, I don't want to freak you out and for you to think you have to go buy cash a car and where do I get the money? This is just concepts, okay? This is just concepts. Now, what do you do with that money? This is the important thing right here is that most people they just say, "Oh, wow, I'm saving $57. That doesn't sound like much. I'd rather just go spend that money." No. You shouldn't spend that money. That money should go investing, just like I showed you right now with my future kid. You invest it into an index account, the S&P 500, what I covered. And if you invest $57 a month into that account over 5 years, you're going to end up saving or earning, sorry, $803 total. So $803 um, plus the money that you saved. So in total, you're gonna make $4,200 by paying cash. So instead of paying 40,000 for the car, you actually only pay 35,743 for the car. That's the true cost. So what's the difference? Well, the difference is huge. Look at right here. Difference on the price of the car is $7,700. So in theory, anyone who finances a car, the difference between a cash buyer and someone who finances is right here. Whoever finances pays 43,000 for the car. Whoever does it the smart way only pays 35,000 for the car. The difference is $7,700. Now, $7,709 doesn't sound like much, but it was based on this principle that over the last 24 years, I was able to create, $1 million stock portfolio, $1 million real estate portfolio, because I would save on financing fees, and then I would invest those funds that I was saving, and then it would turn into 7,700 bucks. Doesn't sound like much, but then I would just continue to do that over and over and over, and then next that's how millions of dollars is created. And that's what the first concept I want to go and cover a car. Okay. Now, the second example we have as far as, again, you know, concepts of money and cash versus finance is a house. Now, this example is pretty funny because whenever we created this presentation years ago, um, you could get a house for $460,000. And that's like another lesson within itself. A lot of people right now don't want to buy homes or real estate because they're like, oh my gosh, it's so expensive. But during when we created this example, 460,000 back then was a lot of money. And people were freaking out and they're like, dude, it's too expensive. I don't want to buy a house. It's just not worth it. Well, guess what? Today, the median price home for a house is $920,000, way more than just 460. So a lesson within the lesson is you should probably just bank on the future, buy real estate, and then over time it's going to be worth more. Okay. So financing. Whenever someone buys a home and they finance a $460,000 condo, for example, they put a down payment of 3% or 3.5%, right? This is a FHA down payment. And they finance it. Usually when you finance a home, it's for 30 years. That's 360 months, 30 years. And in this case, the interest rate back then was 3.75%. So in essence, you're buying the home for 460, but the financing cost actually runs you an $289,000 over 30 years to finance that home. So the true cost of that property, you're really paying $749,000, almost 750 for that property. Now that's normal. Most people do this, but let's just look at a cash buyer. Sometimes you hear about cash buyers. They make up about 30% of the real estate market. So whenever a cash buyer, and this is like kind of the concept of like the rich get richer. This is why the rich get richer is because a lot of them don't finance their cars, don't finance their houses. So this is the example of how they're able to, just become more wealthy. So that same property, the cash buyer, instead of paying 460 for it, they probably pay 440. They get a little discount from the seller. Um, and then they don't have any monthly payments or interest or anything that they're paying. So there's zero financing costs. So they actually saved $289,000. And if I divide 289,000 and I divide it by 360 months, which is 30 years, they actually saved $804 a month in financing fees. Now let's look at what $804 a month gets you over a 30-year period. So if you throw $804 a month into monthly contributions, you would earn 2.3 million. How does that work? Let's go into my trusty calculator. So this is right through it. So this cash buyer that bought this house, the way that they make money is they take the savings of $804 a month, they throw it into monthly contributions over a 30-year period. So they're reinvesting their money. They're earning a really good interest rate return. And then when you calculate it over 30 years, $804 a month turns into $2.3 million. So this person that bought it cash, since they don't have a monthly payment for the home, they turn all that money into 2.3 million. And that's how you get 2.3 million right here. And then you add it to the financing saving because you're saving money on the financing at the same time. So this person really, over 30 years, made $2.6 million. So how much did that house really cost them? They basically got it for free. And that's the power and that's the concept that I just kind of want to start off with is just showing you the concepts. And then that way you understand that whatever it is, whether it's a car or it's a house, um, if you pay cash, you're saving money. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is carrying debt. Um, this is, I see this time and time again. People come into our office, they want to buy a house, and we ask them, hey, how much money do you have? Oh, they go, I have $50,000 saved up, or I have $100,000 saved up. And we're like, wow, that's pretty good money. That's good. Congratulations. And this person, and I have a lot of examples, they have $50,000 saved up. And then we go, well, what type of debt do you have? And at that point, they go, well, I have credit card. How much is your credit card debt? Oh, my credit card debt is 75,000. Okay. What about car debt? I have another 50,000, for my car note. And then I have student loans. So then they go over all their debt. Their debt exceeds 100K, but they have $50,000 in the bank cash. So what we've been teaching people for years is, hey, maybe look at that debt a little bit different. Look at your cash a little different. This is what I mean by that. Let me share my screen. That way you guys get a good understanding. So what you shouldn't do, you know, and this is an example of it doesn't make sense to have $10,000 cash in the bank for an emergency if you have $15,000 in debt. So what you should do is instead of having 10,000 cash and 15,000 in debt, instead you should use that $10,000 in cash to pay off your debt down to $5,000. So if you guys have mattress money or bank money and you have debt, you should use that cash to pay off your debt. Okay. So why is that? Well, because $15,000 in credit card debt at 20% annual interest rate, that means that you're paying $3,060 a year just to keep $10,000 cash in your pocket. So again, you're paying money to, you're basically paying money to borrow the $10,000 that you have in your bank account. Does that make sense? So I want you to think of your cash in your bank and the debt that you're holding in a different manner because it does not make sense, again, to have cash of any sorts for a rainy day or for whatever reason when you have credit card debt, when you have, you know, a student loan debt or a car payment debt, things of that nature. Do you guys have any questions on that? Because I want to be clear that it doesn't make sense carrying debt and having cash at the same time. And you could just type it in, raise your hand. I don't know how the webinar works, right, Claudia? Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I don't. And they have an option to raise their hand and we can unmute them
Perfect.
or tap
Perfect.
your, you know, your
Great. Awesome. So you have a option to raise your hand. All right. So now let's talk about different types of debt. And by the way, at any point you don't understand something, just raise your hand and let's talk about it because most likely somebody else is going to have that same question. So a bad type of debt, aka liability, um, car debt, car loans, quads, jet skis, credit cards, clothing, Macy's, Nordstrom, etc., jewelry, Jared's, Zell's, Tiffany. This is all bad debt. Not so bad debt. Good debt, assets, well, real estate debt is fine. Business debt is fine. Okay. So I just want to go side by side on these. And I want to see if anyone has any questions on these because um, this is, these on the left-hand side are wealth killers in America. And these are wealth builders using loans to buy real estate or businesses.
what if I'm in debt for quads
Hmm.
for a business?
What if you're in debt for quads and what?
For a business. That's okay.
For a business?
Yeah, like to rent them out. Or like to
Oh, got it. So what if your business is leasing out quads? So you bought a bunch of quads for the business. That's fine because it's a business debt. So you're using business loans to acquire your business equipment, right? So you can run your business. That's fine, and that's a good debt over here on this side. But if you're buying quads and financing them, at 8% interest, 10% interest, so you can go to the desert and have fun. That's cool. You could do that and have fun, but when it comes to building wealth, that's not how you build wealth, right? Now we have a different class where we talk about, well, how do you buy all these things? Because everybody wants a car and quads and jet skis and clothing and stuff like that. Well, you buy it with the asset, the money that the assets produce. So, Claudia, once you have your quad business up and running and it's producing income, then you use that income to buy these things. Does that make sense? All right. So, the plan to create wealth is
Hey,
to eliminate.
sorry, I don't mean to like just intrude, but even though so it's not an investment, what he has the jet skis, like it's not an investment because he's not just using it for fun. He's renting it out and making money and paying probably for his debt with it. I'm assuming.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry I wasn't clear on that. But yeah, if your business is to rent out quads or jet skis or whatever and it's making money, that's fine. You could run that business and borrow against that business to buy your equipment, right? Just like if you had a coffee shop and you need money to borrow, you borrow money from your bank to start the coffee shop and buy the espresso machines and the furniture and the fixtures and the lighting. All that is good debt. And as long as you're turning a profit, obviously, right? And you could drink coffee all day long, just like you could ride the jet skis all the day long and enjoy your business. That's fine, as long as you're turning a profit. So yes, you could. Again, the good debt is loans to buy real estate and loans to fund your business. Fund your business. Okay. So, good question. And by the way, that was our producer Vanessa. So.
I know her voice scared me. I forgot she was on.
I thought we were getting hacked. I was like, okay, what's going on?
Wake
was
up,
like,
guys.
Um, all right. So the plan to create wealth is to eliminate all debt, starting with the bad debt first. So this we're getting into the nuts and bolts of tonight is this is how you create wealth, guys, is we have to start by eliminating all bad debt. Once you eliminate all bad debt, that's when you're able to start building your true wealth. Okay. So here are some ways to eliminate debt. We're going to give you again some high level examples so you can start working on it. Number one is create a family budget. We have a budgeting class, wealth building workshop called Budget Your Way to $1 Million. And I go over my personal budget and I teach you how to create one for your family. So if you want the link to that, you could just email us or send us a message. And then Vanessa will send you the last workshop we did on that, the recording. The next way to eliminate debt is you use cash on hand to pay off all debt. That's what we just covered. That concept is whatever cash you have, pay off the debt. Trust me, you don't need that cash. Name an emergency that requires cash these days. There's none. Whether you have to go to the doctors or to the veterinarian or to the mechanic, they all accept credit cards. They all accept, um, some type of credit. So you could always borrow for that. And Clyde, I don't know if there's someone in the chat. Um, the next thing is stop bringing on new debt. So we teach people how to pay off debt, and then sure enough, within 6 months, a year, they started racking up debt again. So one of the best ways to eliminate debt is to stop bringing on new debt. Next one is the envelope system. We'll cover the envelope system in a bit. But there's a very simple cash system where you're able to pay off debt, and it's called the envelope system. Actually, Claudia, I don't know if we have it on this no, we don't. So I would say if you could pull up the envelope system from
yeah.
a previous presentation, then we could cover it right now.
Okay.
The next one is pay cash instead of credit. What does that mean? I give this example all the time. I used to go to the farmers markets all the time. And whenever I would buy anything, and I would go and buy my groceries for the house, and whenever I'd be buying, I'd ask the vendor, I'd say, hey, how much is it? Then they'd say, oh, it's $15. And I go, is it cheaper if I pay cash? And some of them, about 50%, would say, yeah, instead of $15, it's going to be $14 or $13 or whatever. And I would pay cash. So whenever you could pay cash, again, going back to that concept of the car and the house, pay cash so you can save. So if they charge you $1 to use your credit card, consider paying cash. And I do it all the time. And I ask that simple question: is it cheaper if I pay in cash? And some restaurants and some mom and pop shops accept cash and they charge you less. Okay. Before we go into debt snowball, which I'm going to teach you guys how to use, this is how you eliminate that debt, right? Let me cover these other topics. Stop loaning money to people. So this is probably one of the biggest issues that people who make good money face. So for example, when I was a young realtor 20 some years ago, early 20s, yeah, I was making good money. And what would happen was people thought I was rich because I had a good income. Having good income doesn't mean you're rich. Having good income does not mean you're wealthy. However, people perceive it that way. So early on, a lot of people reach out to me and ask me for loans. And I would loan that money out, and you know how that works. You don't get that money back. That's normal. So one day I just made a rule for myself because I started to get really serious about becoming wealthy. And I told myself, you know what? I'm never going to become wealthy if I just keep giving money away. That's what I was doing, giving money away, aka loaning money. And I just made a rule and I said, from this day forward, my rule is I'm not going to loan money out to anyone. And at that point, I didn't want to break that rule for myself. And I remember one of the first people who called me was a friend. My friend was in jail, and my friend asked me to bail him out, and which is a loan, right? To bail somebody out. And man, I felt so bad because it was a good friend. I said, sorry, I can't. I have a rule that I created for myself, and that rule is I can't lend money out. I'm sorry. And I thought my friend was gonna rip me apart and say we're not friends anymore and all this stuff. All he said was like, "Oh, no problem, I get it. Uh, let me hang up, call the next person." And I was like, "Wow, for reals?" And yeah, for reals, yeah, that's it. So, it didn't ruin our relationship. Uh, and after that, I basically had that same conversation a few times after that. And after that, I think maybe the word got out or something, but no one ever asked me for a loan ever again, um, which was surprising. So I think you just have to create a rule for yourself and don't break it, you know. So when you create rules for yourself, whether it's money or personal, whatever, just make that rule for yourself and don't break it. Um, so that's the story behind stop loaning money to people. Um, Now, the other thing with loaning money to someone, what I would say is um, there's a few things behind that. Is whenever you loan money to somebody, it creates the master servant relationship. And what that means is your friendship gets hurt a little bit because now you're the master, they're the servant, and there's an awkwardness, right? So if you want to just have stronger relationships with people, don't loan out money. Also, that includes do not co-sign. You shouldn't be co-signing for people for them to buy the car or whatever they're looking to buy, because then that impacts your credit, right? And again, it creates some type of master servant relationship, and then it impacts relationships for sure. The other thing is stop using cash advances. You're losing a ton of money. Let me talk about that right now. As far as cash advance, I have a slide on that. Where is it at? Right here. This is how cash advance looks like. You're going to cash a $225 check. Again, times have changed. I'm sure you probably get paid more than that now. And they're going to give you 200 bucks and they're going to charge you a $25 fee to advance you your 30-day paycheck. Well, 225 and a $25 fee, that's 11% cost. 11% is high. But most of these cash advances for your checks, you pay them off earlier. You pay them off 30 days later with your next check. Well, guess what? Um, if you pay it off within 30 days, that 11% turns into 135% that they're charging you because this is annual. Annual fee is 11%, but when you pay, after the first month, you're actually paying 135% interest on that cash advance. So that's how much money people are losing, and they don't even know it. And that's how, you know, people that don't have a lot of money, poor people, they get even poorer because they're just paying exorbitant fees like it's crazy. Some of the stuff should be illegal, but it's not. Um, The other thing with cash advances is there's something called, 90 days same as cash, or they have these promotions that say, you know, zero interest for the first 90 days, zero interest for the first 12 months. Well, what these furniture stores and these other vendors know is that 88% of these contracts turn into debt. And after that first year is up or the 90 days is up, uh, it turns into 24% interest or higher. So, using cash advances, buying stuff just because it's zero interest for the first 90 days or the first 12 months, it's going to cost you big time down the road. Okay. Um, okay, Claudia, do you have the
Yeah, go to the next slide. And we also have a question on the chat. What
okay.
about building credit using credit cards without cash? Without cash not help you, wouldn't it help you build anything?
Cool. So the question is, what about building up your credit? How do you build up your credit if you don't borrow? Is that basically the
Yeah,
question? Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So the beauty about building credit is you don't need to keep a balance. So if you get like $1,000 credit card to start building up your credit, all you have to do is buy, 2 cups of coffee a month. That's $10. So you use $10, and then the next month you pay it off. And then you do that again the next month and the next month. So as long as you're using your credit, it doesn't matter whether you're buying $20,000 worth of stuff or $10 worth of stuff every single month. Your credit's still going to grow and improve as long as you pay it off. Now, one thing about building your credit, you don't need to have a balance and you don't need to pay fees to borrow that money. So in essence, you could have a credit card, use it for 2 years, pay it off every single month to zero balance, and your credit would be like 700s. So that's a great question because a lot of people think that they need to have a balance and pay fees for their credit to go up. All right. So now we're going into did you say the next one, Claudia, for the envelope
Like,
system?
yeah, slide 16 is 15. Well, yeah, there.
Cool. So this is the envelope system, guys, that we talk about. If you want to pay off your debt, think of the budget categories that need a cash envelope. So the way it works is you get a bunch of envelopes, you put cash in them. You put cash. So let's pretend you have $1,000 income a month. Then you would do, um, you know, $100 in the entertainment one. Clothing, you put $50. Gas, you put 100. Restaurants, you put 50. Personal, you put whatever, $400. So basically, that full $1,000, you get it in cash and you throw it in between different envelopes for your haircut, for your gifts, for your personal, for your mortgage, right? So it's kind of like this. Um, you name them all: school, personal, gift, shopping, food, and then you put money inside of each envelope. And guess what? Once that envelope goes down to zero, you're out of money. And you cannot spend more than what you have in the envelope. So if the envelope is zero, then that's all the money you have. Once you run out of entertainment money, for example, for the month, that's it. It's done. It's a wrap. No more money. Now, this system is harder and harder to implement right now because cash is, a lot of people aren't using a lot of cash. But if you could use this system, it's a really good system. All right. Now let's come back here and let's talk about the debt snowball. So the debt snowball, the way it works is this is downloading. Let me just go back here. No, I saw it over here. So,
oh,
oh no, this is the monthly budget. This is
I think
uh
it's slide 13, the Dave Ramsey's. No.
no, we need a debt snowball. If you want to pull up a
Yep.
copy of the debt snowball, please. Okay, so we'll go back into this. All right, so now let's talk about Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey is like a financial guy. He's the one that created like the debt snowball sheet that we're going to use. And these are his top 25 things you should do in order to start to eliminate debt. He talks about start consignment shopping, start couponing, cut the cable or the internet or the bills that are unnecessary. By the way, I do this about twice a year. I go through my bills and I see like any fees, reoccurring fees that I signed up for, and I just cancel them. Stop going out to eat. That would be impossible for me, but you could do that. Break up with your barista. So that's Claudia, stop going to Starbucks and all that. Save some money there. Plan your groceries trips. So this is very important. This is something that we do is we just plan our grocery trips. So my wife has the list of groceries at the house that she writes down, and then that when she goes to groceries, that's all she buys. She doesn't buy extra stuff. When you go without a plan to the grocery store, then you start throwing all kinds of stuff inside the basket, and then your grocery bill gets very expensive. Avoid expensive habits. Golf, home improvement, kids. That kids is just a joke. Don't take it literal, but yeah, there's expensive hobbies out there that you could maybe cut. And then the other side of things is find free entertainment. I used to go for years. I love the movie theater. For years, I would go to the movies, but only on Tuesday because it was $5. And I did that for years. And then next door, there was a taco place, and there would be on Tuesdays, $2 tacos for Taco Tuesday. So it was like $10 all in, had a great entertainment night for myself. And I would do that for years just to save money. Get a side hustle. So you could do that too. Sell the car. Um, one thing about cars, and I'll share this with you. The first car I got, I ran it into the ground. So I got it with almost 0 miles, and I put 307,000 miles until it broke. It just stopped working because I ran it and I had it for many, many years, and it was beat down for sure. Nowadays, I don't have a car payment, and I share a car with my wife, and it's a 2003 Honda Accord. So that's a 23-year-old car, and it works fine. And it's ugly. It ain't the nicest, but uh, we don't have a car payment. And with that money that I'm saving, like we're reinvesting that money pretty heavily. So that's something about cars, right? I like a nice car, but I'm just sacrificing just for the future.
But you love a better meal.
I love a better meal. Yeah, I'd rather spend money on good meals than a nice car. Um, some people stop investing because they feel they don't have money. You should always invest. One thing that you should take away from this, if you don't take anything else away, is in order to create wealth, you know, yes, you would want to be at zero debt. But even if you're not at zero debt, you want to save 20% of your paycheck and reinvest that into the S&P 500, into the US stock market for the rest of your life and never touch it. One thing about a piggy bank that we don't understand is if you remember like the classic piggy bank, a little pink piggy bank, that piggy bank is supposed to be intact its entire life. You're not supposed to break that piggy bank open. And a lot of us, what we do is we break that piggy bank open time and time again, and there goes our savings. So one thing, if you don't remember anything about today, remember this. You always want to just save 20% of your income, put it away in a piggy bank, and never touch it, never break that piggy bank. And 20, 30 years from now, you're going to have a lot of money in that piggy bank. Ignore your broke friends. Stop racking up credit cards or car notes, keeping up with the Joneses. Whenever you see a friend with a nice bag or a nice, brand new shoes and all that, just ignore it. You ain't got to get it. Tell your kids and family you are on a budget. Once you start sharing with your family that it's a family budget and you guys are, looking to save for the future because, you heard from us that if you put $804 away over 30 years, that you'll have $2.3 million in the bank. Share that with them. And then that way they start to understand that the goal, right? And start helping you. And then sell unneeded items on OfferUp, Craigslist, Marketplace. There's a few of us here in the office that have been talking about this for the last 2 weeks or so, and they're going to go to um,
Swap.
the swap meet and sell a bunch of stuff. Did you already pick your date, Claudia, when you're going?
Yeah, we said July 18th.
So July 18th, go to which swap meet?
Oh, I don't know, Vanessa. I don't think we picked one yet. I'm thinking
Okay.
Spring Valley, but follow our Instagrams. I'm sure we'll post.
Follow
Mm.
Claudia on Instagram, and then that way you can go support her swap meet sales and buy something from her.
I have nice shoes and they will be
All
sold.
right.
Really quick, we have a
Mm-hmm.
our question.
Sure.
Is there a specific stock that can help align you with building wealth and eliminating debt?
A specific stock?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did ETFS. I don't know.
Yeah. So the stock that um I put my money in is S&P 500 performance. So you have an idea, um, over last 50 years. So this is what the S&P 500 is, the top 500 companies in America. It's been around since 1927. And basically, when you invest in this, you're investing the in America, right? So it's the annualized returns for the stock is 11.8%, almost 12%. So right here it says 11.85%. So when I use these numbers, guys, I'm using the S&P 500. These numbers that I'm showing you how my kid's gonna start off with $1,000 this year and how he's gonna end up with $16 million. I'm using the most basic stock, and that's called the S&P 500. And when you buy it, you could either buy S&P SPY, this one right here, or you could buy VU. It's the same stock. Okay. So that's what I do for myself. I'm not telling you what to buy, but that's what I buy. And you should talk to your financial advisor about it, but it's very basic. Just put it into your piggy bank and never touch it. Good question. All
And
right.
he also emailed you the PDF for the snow because I couldn't add it to the.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, if you want to just share it on your screen and then,
Okay.
okay. So here's some more examples. Okay. Car payments are a way of life. The average millionaire doesn't have a car payment because they own used cars. I just told you about my car situation. I drive a bucket, but it gets me to where I need to go. And all that money, I'm saving so much money. Um, and then the last thing is leasing is always more expensive than owning. If you are going to buy a car, leasing is always more expensive. The dealer profit margins when you buy cash a car is $82. When you get a loan, they make $775. When you take a lease, they make $1,300. And again, these are all old numbers, but long story short, they make more money when you lease a car than when you buy a car. And especially when you buy it cash, they don't make that much money. Um, the way money works is something like this. You know, um, you either take control of your money or your money takes control of you. And when you tell your money what to do, you're taking control of your money. What do I mean by that? You're telling your money, hey, 20% is going to go into my savings. The other 80% I'm going to blow it on life. And that's it. That's how you control your money is you tell it what to do as soon as it comes in.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Victor.
You want to share your screen, Claudia, now?
Yeah. Let's
Cool.
thank Victor for keeping us updated on the Mexico game.
What
He
is
said
it?
gol. He said gol de Mexico. That's all we know.
So it's maybe 1-0.
Yeah. 1-0, we're thinking.
All right,
Which
cool.
screen can you see? This one? The
I
snow?
I see it. Yeah, I see the dead snowball. Okay, so this is the dead snowball. Um, the way it works is, and by the way, thanks for jumping on during the Mexico game, soccer game. Some of you guys maybe didn't know. Now you're tuning off to go watch it, but thank you for popping up today. So the way a dead snowball it works is very simple. Um, what we need to do is you need to organize all your debt in a manner where the total payoff from the lowest to the biggest. Okay, this is debt snowball. This is a form, you fill it out. So in this example, we have someone that has a Shell gas card, that's $900. We have a Nordstrom card, that's $1,425. We have Tiffany Jewelers credit card, that's $7,200. We have a jet ski, that's $9,150. And then we have a Honda, that's $31,270. So you're supposed to line them up from smallest debt to largest debt. And then from there, the goal, and then you write down the minimum payment next to each one. And then you have the new payment on the right side. The new payment is works something like this. So the first goal is you always want to start with the smallest one. Some people say, well, why don't I pay off the biggest one? Because it doesn't work that way. You want to psychologically help yourself because you're seeing that you're like hitting your goals, right? So you're knocking off one debt after another debt. So you want to start off with the smallest one. So you want to focus everything you can, any extra money, pay off that $900 one. So once you pay off the 900, what will happen is you'll have $25 extra to use for the second biggest one. So in this case, that Nordstrom card was $35, and then you add $25 from the previous Shell card that you don't have anymore, and now your new monthly payment is $60 a month. So you pay $60 a month, and you focus on that Nordstrom card until you're all the way done. And then once the Nordstrom card is paid off, now you have $60 to play with plus the minimum payment for that Tiffany jeweler of 95. So you add that up. So your new payment is $155 a month. So now you're using 155 a month and you're focusing on the jet ski. So you do 155 plus 215 for the jet ski. So you're paying 370 a month and you're focus. You pay off that jet ski. And then now you have $370 to play with. And then you add it to your Honda payment of 512. And then you're paying 882 a month until that Honda is paid off. And at that point, you're debt free. And that's the debt snowball. Some of you guys might have 20 bills. So you just write all 20 bills from smallest to biggest. Some of you might have 5 bills, 7 bills, whatever it is, but that's how you use a debt snowball. And there we got another Mexico goal. I'm assuming that's the same one. Okay, now let's go back to what we're talking about. And we're almost wrapped up. Now we're on the monthly budget. Okay, so you can use this monthly budget, and what we use is something called a zero-based budget. So what does that mean? And I don't know if I could get this to look a little bit closer so we could all see it.
Go to slideshow up here on this corner.
Okay, slideshow. There we go. Perfect. Thank you. So this is a zero-based budget. So if you make, this is an example, 2-pager, and if you want this again, send us a message, an email, and we will get you a copy of this. If you earn $10,000 a month for your income, then you write 10,000 at the top. Okay. And it's a zero-based budget. So that means that if we earn 10,000, we have to spend $10,000 at the end of the month. Okay. How do we do that? Well, we start here, right? So let's pretend that you're into tithing and you give away 10% of your income every month. Then you would have, $1,000 to tithing. And then the first thing, before that, maybe you would want to save 20% of your income, like the rule that we have. So 20% is $2,000. So you're tithing, you're 2,000, you got $3,000 out of the way. Now you have $7,000 to play with. So let's pretend that your monthly rent or mortgage, probably rent these days, is $3,300. Then your utilities is $395, and then your groceries is $1,250 for the month. And you don't buy any clothes that month. Your transportation is $500 or $300 because you spent $300, but you budgeted $500. Again, these are old numbers. And then you have your insurance cost, $450 for the month, and then you have $245 for personal. Recreation, $300, and then your debts. These are the debts that you're paying, your car loan, your credit card, $760. So at the end of the day, you earned $10,000 and then you spent $10,000 and you're left with zero. That's considered a zero-based budget. And you want to do this every single month. And yes, sometimes you could use the envelope system that we talked about, but this is exactly how you do it. Okay. And if you get really good at this, like I've gotten really good at this for many years now, you could create a lot. So this is Nipsey Hussle, very prominent rapper and someone I looked up to. Anyways, he had a saying that says, I had to take 2 steps back to take 10 steps forward. And sometimes it works that way. Like right now, I'm taking 2 steps back by sharing a car with my wife, a 2003 Honda Accord. So I could take 10 steps forward down the road because we're building our assets right now. Another quote of his is, do I continue this lifestyle of shopping, clothes, or do I have to sacrifice a little bit because this is more important to me? That's going to be the distinguishing decisions that ends up separating the ones that end up getting it with the ones that don't. And I thought that was pretty good. Questions and answer. What questions you guys have?
I did have a question through text. It says, when you were going over the debt snowball, doesn't the APR rate matter? Which I know there's also like another method of going through, like, let's say you have, your APR paying that way.
Yeah, good question. Um, That's a good question. It's a good point. Yes, it does matter. For this class, it doesn't, because this is the 101 class. This is like we're teaching you how to get out of debt. And that's the main goal. For more sophisticated people, right? People that are really good with money, like I'm really good with money. So I'm able to do a debt snowball. I don't have any debt. I haven't carried debt for many, many years, like almost ever. And that's one thing that allowed me to build my wealth is not carrying debt. But someone like myself, I could arrange my debts by percentages, interest rates, APRs, and then from there, organize them in a different manner than the manner that we showed you. But that's because I'm a pro at money and I'm very, what's the word, Claudia?
Analytical.
Well, analytical, but I could stick to the process. I'm not going to get distracted.
He's very
Um,
committed.
I'm committed. I'm gonna get it done. Does that make sense? So I don't want you to distract you with like, oh well, discipline. That's the word, discipline. I'm very disciplined. So I don't want to distract you with, um, yeah, organize it in different, with different interest rates and pay off the highest one first and blah blah. Because again, it's a psychological thing. If you start off with a small one and you're paying off the small ones first, and you get all these win, another win, you're probably gonna be more committed to it over time. But if you start on the big one first because it has the highest APR, and you never pay it down because you're always like trying to pay it off, but it's so big that it's going to take a long time to pay it off, you're probably going to quit. So I don't want you to quit. I want you to start on the small ones first so you can get some wins under your belt, and then later on maybe you can switch it up. Good question. What are the questions you guys have? By the way, uh, if we did a good job today, please give us a review. Also, your Lepe Tendwell real estate agent that invited you to this, please give them a review and maybe send them some business. Send them a friend or family that wants to buy or sell a home, to thank them for this on top of the review. But uh, you could scan it here and leave us a review and just compliment Claudia on her hair. She got it done today for this reason.
Okay.
Um,
Also,
what?
before
Mhm.
people start logging off, wanted to remind them our upcoming coffee and cash.
Okay.
I believe that's
So we have something called Coffee and Cash, and we're going to be talking about a big topic at the next one. It's going to
July 8th.
July 8th at 8 a.m. in National City this time at a coffee shop. We're going to be talking about a huge topic that allows people that own real estate is to pay very little income taxes on the money that you earn. It's a huge topic. It's more high level. It's more sophisticated than a beginner coffee and cash, but we have beginner ones, we have beginner topics. So just come to that one. What else do we have coming up? Anything else, Claudia?
uh, BA buyer workshop in person here at the office. We'll have a lender. I believe that's July 18
Cool. So July 18th.
at 11 a.m. I also added it to the chat.
Okay, cool, perfect. So sign up for that. And then someone asked, what are the stocks you recommend other than S&P 500? So I'll share with you quickly the philosophy on how to invest your money. Okay, so this is your hand, right? The majority of your hand, your palm, that's the most important part of your hand, let's say. 50% of my money goes into the S&P 500. This is like easy, it's gonna grow. I'm gonna do good. 10% of my money. Okay, now we have the five fingers. The thumb is a QQQ. So I'm gonna put 10% of my money into a QQQ. That's also a fund. It's like the S&P 500, but it's a smaller fund. Invesco QQQ, that's the name of it. And then these four fingers here, 10% in each of my money. So, and I'm gonna choose uh, four really big blue chip stocks. A blue chip stock is something that's always going to be there, in my opinion, in my mind, right? So, like something like Costco, something like Walmart, something that I use every day, like Apple, my phone. So, for me, I like Google because I use it. for my email, for my calendar. I use Google all the time, and I'm going to continue using it. I pay the money every single month to use it. I like Apple, right? Because I use Apple products and I spend so much money on Apple. Um, I like NVIDIA because they make all the chips, right? And I've owned NVIDIA for many years now. I made a lot of money with NVIDIA. Um, and it's good. And then I like Meta, right? Because I'm always on Instagram. I use Instagram, Facebook. They have so much technology. But at the end of the day, that's kind of how I structure it is I have the ETF, which is the S&P 500, QQQ, and then four blue chip stocks, right? So you don't want to get into something where you're just going to lose money over time or it's a big risk, okay? And yeah, there's copies of this presentation. I'm sure there's going to be a YouTube video that you could watch afterwards, and feel free to reach out to your favorite Lepe Tendwell agent or to us. We'll get it out to you. And then if you have any questions, you could reach out. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you at the Coffee and Cash. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Great class. Bye.
Bye.